but Wigan are going to be difficult to stop, having the extra man. But the Quins will dig deep. And they play with pride.
The one thing, Phil, that might go against Wigan is the mental attitude that they have, because playing against 12 men, 24-6 up, well, they must think that the job's done.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question of how many, but how good can Wigan be, Eddie, for 40 minutes, irrespective of the opposition and the number of players they have. Wigan, if they want to get to the grand final this year, will need to be able to play for 80 minutes at the level we saw in the first half. I think that's the challenge here now. They have a commanding lead on the scoreboard, obviously a numerical advantage on the playing field, but it's can they play that well again for the next 40 minutes? Can the concentration, the discipline and that supporting players being in the right position at the right time, it's the small factors that will determine how well Wigan go this season, and they've started pretty well here, shifting it on the last tackle.
Oh, but hang on, there's a problem there for Sean O'Loughlin, and that could easily be a hamstring that's gone there, because he picked up the ball, and as he picked up pace, he stopped almost dead in his tracks, and there is an obvious problem for Sean O'Loughlin.
And he was on the last tackle as well, and there it just goes. Well, with a scoreline at 24-6, it's there's no reason to really risk him. He'll try to run it off, of course. Brian Noble will give him as much time as possible. He's one of the many stars of that first half. Oh, good offload.
Great offload by Will Sharp to Danny Orr. Danny Orr just delayed slipping the short pass and came back on an angle on himself. Here is Chad Randall. This now is Chris Melling.
The other problem, of course, when you realise you're playing against 12 men is that so many players, they try to play individually rather than stick to the team ethic, which has been so successful in the first half.
I think also it'll be very interesting to see how Harlequins respond to the challenge of having 12 men. And I'm sure that Coach Brian McDermott will have asked them to up the intensity and certainly beat the first half effort.
Well, this is the last tackle for them. Daniel dropped the ball onto his foot, but it's picked up by Carl Price. And here now is Cameron Phelps trying to work the ball away. Flicks the ball then out of the tackle to Thomas Luluai. For the first time in a month, Wigan are inside the top 8. But they've never been higher than 7th so far this year. As O'Loughlin makes his way to the sideline, Harrison Hansen returns. Remember, he was taken off injured in the first half. That's a slack pass, picked up by Amos Roberts. And it wasn't touched by a Harlequins player, not played at, says the referee. So tackle count continues, and Fielden is trapped on the 5th. Still just 25 metres or so away from his own line. So the kick here from Tompkins has to be good. It's not bad.
It's a great one. If you can dissect the winger and the full-back on every occasion, make sure it hits terra firma, and it's got to be classified as a good one. And look at that chase. That's really impressed me there, as the way that Brian Noble has got his defence so solid.
Has the St Helens fight back begun? 4 minutes into the second half, they're on the scoreboard, 16-6. That's at the Willows. We're at the JJB Stadium. Wigan 24-6. Randall in possession for Quins. Gets the ball away and finds Gareth Haggerty. Haggerty doing well, but not doing well on that occasion. Gifting the possession to Phil Bailey. And what he was thinking about then, should have just taken the tackle, surely. Joel Tompkins. Paliasina picks up pace. Beats 2, beats 3. Heckenberg gets to him. McIlorum, Luluai, short ball, Harrison Hansen. And Luluai at dummy half, scheming again as he finds McIlorum, who runs straight up the middle, but then is spun to the ground by Haggerty. Luluai once more, finds Tompkins. Brother Joel is on his shoulder. That's the last for Wigan, 8 metres away from the Quins line, with Tompkins and Luluai, who's hoisting the kick wide, looking for Pat Richards. That's more like Richards getting up off the ground. He finds George Carmont. Carmont then out the back door to Pat Richards. Richards stabs it forward. That was played at by Harlequin's leg. It's going to be back to 0, and is, as Carmont runs back at the Harlequins defence. Cameron Phelps is the dummy
Robinson had to go low onto the legs.
Here's Luluai, finds Tompkins. Tompkins trying to step away from Chad Randall. Can't do so, finished off by Matt Gaffer. Phelps again, and he'll find Bailey. Bailey short ball to Joel Tompkins, who escapes the net and scores in the corner for Wigan.
He'll just check for the grounding, but I think he's got it down as Joel Tompkins. Great upper body strength here. Fingertip, I think his fingertips on it.
I wonder whether his fingers actually left the ball here.
Well, slow motion, you'll see it. No, I think he's had them all the way down. This should be another try.
I think he's dropped this there. I think he's dropped that.
Well, what, isn't one finger enough?
I don't think there's one. I don't think there's even a thumb. I think there's daylight between all of that, but I'm not Ian Smith.
Well, if it was a duck with a web in, but we can't do that. It's a human being. I think that's a try. Fully deserved one.
Ian Smith's not convinced. Just look there.
One finger all the way down. That's all it takes.
John Keir?
I think it's a try.
Phil Clark?
I got no try.
2-2. Ian Smith has got the casting vote. What do we know? Joel Tompkins is given the 4 points. Honour to Sam. He played alongside his brother Sam for the first time against Harlequins in February. And he got 4 tries here once upon a time against Hull in a big win on this ground last August.
It just shows you what can be achieved by keeping the ball alive. The build-up to this area was over on the other side. Remember Pat Richards offloading the ball back inside, George Carmon just keeping it going, and this is a fine effort. Normal speed, perhaps it wouldn't be given, but on the video replay, the fingertip control had it, and fully deserved. Went through about 12, 13 pairs of hands in the build-up to that.
Well, Richards has missed with another. It's 28 points to 6, though, to Wigan, down to the side and Bill.
Eddie, it's a tough game, as we know, on a Friday and a Saturday night in Super League, and it's a tough game that young Louis Hall Warburton has discovered playing for Leyland Warriors during the half-time interval. That was the reason for the delay to the start of the second half, because young Lewis, playing in the under-9s competition, suffered a compound fracture of his arm as he was making a tackle in that game, and the poor lad was stretchered off, but it'll probably live long in his memory, because he got the sort of ovation that a try scorer gets here at the JJB Stadium when he was stretchered off the field. He's gone with his parents to the local hospital now to have the arm set, and he's learned the tough way just how tough this game can be, as young Louis Hall Warburton.
Well, all the very best to him from all the Sky Sports Rugby League team, of course, and well, that's a really, really tough beginning to that young man's rugby league career, isn't it? Referee's
well,
Mike McAlorum for a forward pass.
50-50 either way. He shakes his head, disbelief. But there's a guy out there with a whistle. He's the boss.
I know McAlorum's pass was called forward there, but I think Wigan's short passing game tonight has been superb. They've been pushing up into the next hole, and the weighting of the pass has been very, very good indeed, so the player can run onto the ball with great venom.
John, did it surprise you that the attacking ploy early in the game that Brian Noble had? They were very flat, but very effective.
No, not really, and I think Phil Bailey's been instrumental in that. He put Lachlan through in the first minute, helped with the Tompkins try as well. I think he's had a superb game, and I think this Wigan outfit have really upped the ante tonight.
But it's Harlequins who are on the attack right now, the 12 men from the Twickenham stoop, with Danny Orr. Oh, and off the chest of Heckenberg. It was a short pass, it was a quick pass, and Heckenberg furious, and Brian McDermott not impressed either.
Yeah, you can't afford to come up with errors when you're getting very, very close to the line. You could see that Mike McAlorum was shaping up to him.
Well, the number of soft turnovers in possession by Harlequins is most unlike them. They normally knock out the sets, and they're very, very efficient at that, but tonight they've made some real soft errors, and they've made a very good Wigan side their job even easier.
This is Harrison Hansen on the field for the injured captain, Sean O'Loughlin. Tompkins, that's Sam. And underneath all that is Tompkins, that's Joel. Here is Fielden. Andy Coley comes back into the action. The applause in the background for the effort from Palliasina. And the kick, looking for a 40-20, but it doesn't make it. Kick from McIlorum, I think. Melling to Will Sharp. Great chase, though, from Wigan.
Fine kick by the youngster Mike McIlorum, and also a good chase by Sam Tompkins.
Coley, the man on for Palliasina that you just got a glimpse of. He's catching his breath on the bench. This is John Wells, meanwhile.
Looked a bit high there from Coley, and it's been spotted by the official. Just went in pretty lazy as the man tried to go underneath it. No real swinging arm, more of a grab, but either way it is a penalty. John Wells would have felt that. Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very, very large hill to climb, isn't it, for the visitors, but they do have a lot of pride. They pride themselves also on their fitness levels, and they will not throw the towel in, that is for sure.
Randall to Heckenberg, and Fielden and Coley, they stand their ground. Randall once again. Here's Danny Orr, just flicks the pass up, and it's Matt Gardner who is on the field. Matt Gardner, who got 23 tries, a career best in his Salford year of 2008. Now he's headed south. Tamata and Randall. Randall, short ball to Danny Orr. And he's asking for something off the referee that didn't come. It's Randall who finds Danny Ward.
Well, he shouted at Steve Ganson, the official, and it nearly put Wigan off. And this goes close.
They do go close on the last, using the power play. And that ball would be turned over right underneath the Wigan post. There was no way through for Carl Tamata then.
Looks to be a problem there for the prop forward Stuart Fielden. He went in very awkward into that tackle.
Move! Hold, Carl. Go.
I'm sure, Steve-O, that Brian Noble will be very, very happy with Wigan's application in defence there, because I think it's pretty obvious to most of us that the game's in their pockets, but they still showed a great desire to keep the Harlequins out.
Well, I'm quite sure that he would have said, Brian Noble, at half-time, OK, we look as though we've got this game well and truly wrapped up, but we've got to make sure that the Quins do not score a try. That is a new game, and that is a new objective, and there's a problem to Stuart Fielden. As I said, he picked up a knock in that last tackle.
Ball nearly bounced over the head of John Wells, but he brought it back into the field of play. Danny Orr, the dummy half. Here is Chris Melling. Melling gets Quins over halfway on tackle number 2.
Quins are a side that like to get pretty close to the opposition line before they start something into attacking mode. I mean, they normally just rely on this fella, Chad Randall, just to keep them going.
Salford have increased the lead against St Helens again. Half an hour of that one to go. We're a little bit ahead of them here. As Gaffer tries to play the ball quickly with Randall. That's a good ball to Gale. It's an important tackle from Phil Bailey. And this is the last tackle here. They're running it. Little stab, looking for Sharp. He's got it, Sharp. That's an outstanding try from Will Sharp. The kick down the line from Luke Williamson. I think that Sharp's arm was over the line, but I'm almost sure his feet were this side, the right side of the whitewash. If he's got this, it's an outstanding try.
He's onside, that's for sure. By the time he makes the connection, Williamson's foot is on it. Now, he gets it there. As he brought the foot, as he touched it, I think you'll find that it just brushed the whitewash. Maybe not there, but I think he is on that occasion.
Well, it's worth the 4 points, isn't it?
It certainly is, but I think you'll find that he just has brushed it. This will prove it. Oh, will it? No, it will.
I think unless a lot of the foot, Eddie, is over the line, and it's clearly not over the line, then I think you've got to give the benefit of the doubt to the attacking side there.
Well, no, Phil. If you've hit the whitewash, hit the whitewash.
You can't see that he's hit the whitewash.
Well, I think it has.
Well, I think it's a try.
And I think it's a try as well. So that's 3-1 this time, but Ian Smith beat.
Well, you're always ganging up on me, but to me, he's put his foot in touch.
Well, I just think that for the effort here, and I don't think he's touched it there.
Well, the touch judge has got a fantastic view, and he doesn't think that he's gone into touch.
Eddie, I don't think it's so much the effort. I think it's the skill level. That's
fantastic.
Magnificent skill from.
What about this? What about this one here? His foot's on the whitewash there.
Steve-O, you're not convincing me.
Look at that. I don't have to convince you. We can't judge anything. It's Ian Smith that's got the job. I think that has touched it.
Well, there you are.
He
There's
shifted the line. The rope, the cricket rope on the boundary's been moved out, Eddie.
But that's only one of the options.
That would be a 4 then, wouldn't it? And he doesn't get the try. Well, for the skill that he showed there, it was worth 4 points to Will Sharp.
That I agree with, but we have to stick to the rules. You can't say that most of the foot wasn't on the whitewash. If any part of the foot is on the whitewash, we have to stick to the rules.
Well, I need some new glasses.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if Steve Ganston made that decision, he'd be calling it pedantic. Because that was the word of 2009 that suddenly dropped out of the Stevenson dictionary.
Well, he hasn't been pedantic, that's why he's been dropped.
Here come Wigan back on the charge.
And Phil Bailey now is taking over. More in attack now. We see his defensive contribution has never been in question, but he's getting his hands on the ball more now, running with it more, perhaps filling the hole left by Gareth Hawke.
He's had a tremendous game, that's for sure. And it looks easy, doesn't it, in the second? That's a nice offload as well.
Great offload from Cameron Phelps.
5! Move! Go, mate.
Just hearing, by the way, that Salford, they have been down to 12 men themselves for part of that game at the Willows. They've had a man in the sin bin tonight. And they still lead at St Helens. Oh,
that's a bad mistake.
knock on. Well, they did everything right there, harlequins. He took that really well, and then,
just lost it under pressure from Amos Roberts.
Yeah, Amos Roberts, great enthusiasm there with the chase.
I think he's had his best game throughout the season, Amos Roberts, tonight. But he's going to have to go a long way to push out the man of the match contention to beat the second rower, Phil Bailey, who started the things off with a beautiful pass, 71 seconds maybe, or maybe 70 seconds into the game.
Stop being pedantic.
short ball from Luluai to Carmont. Amazing, his man of the match contribution in 55 minutes, eh? Great run from Luluai, great try. I don't think he's had a bad game either. Determination from Thomas Luluai. And of course, Luluai scoring against his former club in whatever guise you might wish to name them. Thomas Luluai with the latest Wigan try.
All came from the header from Chris Mellon. He never so well to take it, but the pressure from Amos Roberts brought about the mistake. When this guy decides to take on the defence, ask the questions. He can be outstanding. And on that occasion he has. No problems. Steve Ganson in a very, very good position to see it all. Mellon tried his damnedest, but it was always going to be a try. Well, there's a fear now that Wigan perhaps might start to run riot. A few of the heads are going down in the Harlequins ranks, and it's not surprising when you're trying to make up in defence when you've got a man missing. But let's take nothing away from the Wigan's passing and handling and the support play.
Richards then. And he finds the mark this time. So when we last saw Harlequins at the stoop against the champions Leeds a couple of weeks ago, Leeds had 8 different try scorers. Tonight, Wigan have had 7.
It can sometimes be a team game, and that perhaps is what Brian Noble would be very pleased with. The application from all the players to do their job.
Wigan have had 2 players, Eddie, playing the hooker role or the acting half-back position. McLaurin and Riddell today, but perhaps, just perhaps, Thomas Luluai is the most dangerous player in the Wigan shirt when he's in that dummy half position, particularly close to the try line. He runs it so well. Now, I suppose if you do play him at some point hooker, you'd maybe have to shift Riddell to the back row, and then you'd have Tompkins on his own in the half-backs. So there's not short really of a standoff, because fundamentally Sam Tompkins is a scrum half.
And of course Thomas Luluai played in the World Cup, didn't he, for New Zealand in their triumph in 2008.
Well, Phil mentioned Lulai's determination there near the line, but I think technically that was a very good try because of his body position and his leg drive, which was the second effort that allowed him to go over the line. So top marks to Tommy Lulai.
Tompkins here with the kick over the top, and behind Will Sharp, and Sharp, well, he wanted that to run dead, I think, because he could see the Cherry and Whites coming at him. Tompkins leading the way, a great tackle, down to Bill.
The only downside for the Wigan Warriors so far tonight is an injury to the skipper Sean O'Loughlin, who still hasn't reappeared from the dressing room, and sounds as though it's a knee injury that's causing him the problem. Felt something go in his knee, came straight off. They're obviously not going to risk sending him back out there, still in the dressing room, and they've been taking plenty of ice in there for him as well, so needing a bit of treatment.
Yeah, that could be the one blot on the night as far as Wigan are concerned, because O'Loughlin has been playing really well this year. He was injured and missed the Celtic Crusaders defeat last month. It also cost him his first England cap. And of course, O'Loughlin is a survivor of the last Grand Final appearance for Wigan, 2003, and the last two Challenge Cup finals, 2008 and 2004. 1-1, 1 lost in that run, and they've got a semi-final to come against Warrington shortly. But tonight their aim and their attention is focused purely and simply on making the playoffs for the run to Old Trafford. Gaffer penalised for a high shot on Luluai.
Came off the top of the elbow, no doubt about it. Gardner face on. It's going to be a tough final quarter for the visitors, that's for sure. This is a moment, of course, where Brian Noble will say, well, if you've got any set patterns out there, let's try them. The game's well and truly won.
Man sent off, who only had 6 penalties in the entire game. Tompkins. He was just flicked by Tamata, and he was finished off. And Carl Price almost got in the way then.
Yeah, it wasn't intended for the big fella. It was for Roberts, and I think he knows it as well. That is a sin when you just recovered the ball from a poor pass and then you come up with an error yourself.
Wigan back in possession with Bailey. Short ball here, but no way through for Prescott. Riddell scheming 10 metres out. Here is Luluai. He comes back this way again. Luluai spinning his way to the line. Luluai! Sensational try. Second in quick succession from Thomas Luluai. Wigan mindful of that points difference that could be the difference between 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th in the playoffs come the end of the year. They will certainly not let up here. And Luluai scored his 5th try of the season a few minutes ago. He's now made it 6. And that was another great effort, just spinning off the tackles, wasn't it?
Superb play. Came about by the error. Not the best, was it? Step, put him under pressure, beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Not the best defensive effort. But you've got to pull yourself about. Made the point that when he does take them on, asks the question, sometimes he comes up with the right answer. Well, ever since that moment just before half-time when the chip over created the Roberts try, Luluai has gone over for 2 more.
And what is also quite important from Thomas Luluai, has now got 50 tries in the British game, beginning the night needing 2 for that total. This is his 40th consecutive appearance. Richards adds the extras. Wigan are 40 points to 6 to the good, and I think they're going to win this match somehow.
He's happy, and all the Cherry and White fans should be as well.
Very interesting though, isn't it, Steve, that when a team goes a man down, everybody thinks the space has got to be on the outside, but often it happens that your bigger guys have to do more work, they get a bit of fatigue, and you see some tired efforts as you saw there, and often the gaps appear down in that middle channel, and that's what's happening at the minute with this game, and Tom Lulai's taking full advantage of it.
You're right, John, and of course that means you've got to do that extra work. Men get tired, there's nowhere to hide.
40 points to 6 then, still 17.5 minutes remaining for Harlequins to battle their way through. By the way, just a word about the penalty count tonight. 3 penalties apiece Steve Ganson has whistled for. He's also brandished the red card, of course, to David Howell. But looking back over his last 3 games, Steve Ganson, he hasn't been blowing the pea out of the whistle. 4 penalties Celtic against Wigan, 10 penalties Huddersfield against Castleford, and only 6 last week in the game between Wakefield and Warrington and Hull, I beg your pardon.
Eddie,
So
that doesn't mean that he's had a good game or a bad game, though, does it? Just because you know you're quoting a low number of penalties.
No, the players must be, as John said at half-time, maybe the players are becoming more and more disciplined during the course of 2009.
Well, he can't make them up, can he? He can only penalise. There's a forlorn Sean O'Loughlin.
He won't be back. He's changed, ready for the journey home.
And it'll be a shame as well, because Brian Noble realises that he's getting back to his best. A couple of years ago when he was sensational, creative, and that's another error on this occasion.
Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook
drops the ball, holds the arm up. Good hit by Riddell.
Phil, let's just develop that argument. If it means that Steve Ganson's not necessarily having a good game because he's not blowing the penalties, what does it mean?
No, I'm saying we can't tell just from quoting that number whether he's had a good or a bad game, and I'm not an expert on referees, so I would never really dream to comment on whether he's had a good or a bad game. It just says that there are less penalties in the game. You know, other referees who've penalised more players, maybe better referees than Steve Ganson.
Well, I always say that if there's a low penalty count, that means that the players have got far more respect. So the referee has controlled it to such a point where no one's getting irritated out in the field of play. And when they get irritated, you'll find they'll start bashing each other and the penalties will count.
It may mean that they've missed loads of penalties.
It's a good debate. It's probably one for boots and all, isn't it? Here's Tompkins, meanwhile, funnels the ball on to Bailey, who gives it to Price. And Price, a great pass inside, but not to a Wigan jersey. It was to Will Sharp. Now, there's another penalty from Steve Ganson.
Much better game now for him.
20 points to 6, 5 minutes to go. I think Salford are coming up with one of the shocks of the season. St Helens have only lost at the Willows once since 1997. Who would have predicted that?
Well, how long was it since Salford won at Leeds, and they did that this season as well, so good on them.
Yes. Super League extra time. From around about 10 o'clock onwards, we'll have all the details of that particular match. Rod Studd's our reporter. He's been watching a little bit of history down at the Willows.
Be interesting to see.
Surely not even Saints can score 16 points in 5 minutes, can they?
Nope. And it'll be interesting to see what Rod says in regards to how much they missed Kieran Cunningham. He's a key factor in their success.
Aren't they saying he's out for 4 weeks?
Yep.
We have 14.5 minutes here, and Wigan in complete control, 40 points to 6 against the 12 men of Harlequins. If you're just joining us tonight, David Howell sent off in the first half, but Harlequins, Chris Melling keeping going, and Bailey and he tangling themselves up with each other then, and Bailey come off worse in that. That's a high kick, and that's well claimed by Roberts. And he gets it away to Tompkins, and Sharp comes in with the tackle, helped out with by Tony Clubb.
Well, the offload was good, but young Tompkins straight into a brick wall. Sharp just barreled him down to the floor. To be fair to Harlequins, that's really been the only way that they've troubled this Wigan outfit.
Well, all the tricks in the book coming out now. A kick wide for Pat Richards. It looked as though he'd actually overcooked it a bit, Thomas Lulawai.
But at 40 points to 6, you can afford to do all that.
Hansen to Riddell. He can't do that. Joel Tompkins. Did it go backwards? I think the referee has given him benefit of the doubt there. Here's Palliasina back out. Last tackle. Good defensive stint this by the Quins. I don't know whether it's me, Steve-O, but Pat Richards is kicking at the moment. It's not been its usual self. I don't know whether he's carrying some sort of injury that none of us know about, but his goal kickings have been a bit off shape tonight. His drop kicks haven't been as long and as booming as possible.
We all have our off day.
Well, it was the same last time we saw him at Hull KR. I know he came up with 16 points last week, but I don't know, he just seemed a bit off the boil a bit.
It's very difficult for a winger to perhaps get himself involved when there's been so many runs by the forward down the centre. It's
you take the point though, he's an outstanding kicker, isn't he?
My word, and I think John Keir has it right, in as much that, you know, everybody expects keep the ball alive, get it out wide, they get the gap when they're down to 12 men, but it's been down the middle that they've just absolutely split this Harlequin side.
Kick through is easily gathered in by Roberts.
Well, it's a bit like a golfer, I suppose, Eddie, who probably has a problem with a swing. Maybe he just needs to go back on the practice range and start hitting that ball, striking and getting his timing back in again, because he doesn't seem to have hit it perfectly. He's not playing the sweet spot, as they say.
I'm impressed with that, Phil. A golfing term.
I've been reading Golfing Monthly. It's a new subscription I'm taking.
Have you really? My word. Sweet spot. Impressive. Palliasing. He'll keep going all night. Just trundles it up the middle.
He takes it
belt then for his pains.
He takes it out of the opposition as well. He's such a big unit. Here comes the chase.
Melling to try and run it back.
He's tried his hardest. He's been under a lot of pressure throughout the game. Been carting the ball up time and time again.
Well, Sharp, it's a good run. It's a tremendous run. He's taking on Harrison Hansen on the outside. He's gone inside Cameron Phelps. Can he get the ball away? Yes, he can. Chad Randall, and cut down by George Carmon. Could have crowned his 100th consecutive game then for Harlequins with a try. Wonderful run by Sharp. He goes down on the third tackle.
Scrambling defence, equal to the task though. Outstanding there that they got back in numbers, Wigan.
Scrappy pass.
Tremendous tackle again from Carbon.
Here goes Melling. They've had the chances, haven't they, Harlequins? They really have, even with 12 men. It's Randall and Orr, and he hoists it wide again. Oh, and that was knocked down to Wells. It's going to be another decision for Ian Smith to make. It was certainly touched by the London man who was airborne, but did it go backwards is what Ian Smith will have to adjudicate on. And again, Pat Richards a bit leaden-footed underneath the high ball.
Another wonderful high kick there by Danny Orr. Does it come off the Harlequin player?
Well, it certainly hits the Harlequins player, and it was first touch, I think, by Richards there. It looks like it's going to be, it looks like it's going to be play on. They're going to check the grounding.
Well, I think maybe Pat Richards has got to the ball first, and that's gone back. Matt Gaffer's done well. I think this will be given.
Well, Gaffer picked Richards' pocket, didn't he, in the first half? Has he created one for John Wells? No. They've been deemed to have knocked on over on that far side. Well, they've had a couple of efforts, haven't they, that have been chalked off by the video referee after some consultation.
Well, I think Richards has got more power to it, knocked it back. That surprised me.
Well, John Wells, he's without a Super League try since April of last year when he scored in the home win 35-16 against Hull KR, and he's still denied. Into the last 10, Wigan 40, Harlequins 6. It's a comprehensive victory for the Wigan Warriors, but it's a scoreline now with a couple of close-run things on the video referee that maybe Harlequins don't deserve.
Well, we said they wouldn't give in, wouldn't throw the towel in, they never do. And that's the only thing that Brian McDermott, the coach, will be looking for, is that they play with a bit of pride. They're still trying to get the big hits in out there.
Hold. Go. 40. 10.
That's a good kick.
Eddie, with less than 10 to go, we're both, and I suppose less than 10 matches to go as well in this Super League season, there's every possibility that Harlequins and Wigan could meet in the playoffs.
There is.
We yet to know the finishing position, so you know, I think sometimes that the final 10 minutes could be significant, whether Wigan can almost extinguish any hope. I mean, psychologically, when you start a game, the amount of belief that you and your team have facing your opponents is an important factor. And I think if Wigan can continue to press on here, it obviously will deflate the Harlequins for the rest of this match, but it might just give them a small psychological advantage should they meet in the playoffs.
Harlequins keeping it going till the end. And in possession here with Louis McCarthy. Scarsbrook gets the ball away to Chad Randall. Good smothering defence though from Wigan, and Salford have beaten St Helens tonight by 20 points to 10. It means that St Helens record run of 16 successive away Super League wins ends, and the last defeat was at Castleford April last year. As Harlequins ask another question of the video referee, because Luke Gale believes he might have touched down this time.
Well, he deserved a try. Through the dummy, took the step, went for it. Surely this is going to be allowed. Yeah. I think he's rolled his fingers over just enough. We'll see a little bit better on this angle. It was a fine effort by the youngster. There's the whitewash. It is just short there, but does the apex of the ball roll through? Here it comes. He's still got control. I think this will be given. They've had 2 denied in the second half, and I think you'll find that Luke Gale will get the nod on this occasion by the video referee, Ian Smith. It was a good effort, good solo.
Yes, credit them. Luke Gale with the try. They've kept going despite the adversity of the night that they have suffered. And Luke Gale, that's only his 4th try of the campaign, but he got one last week against Wakefield as well.
That's a fine effort. Quick from the dummy half position to the dummy. You can see young Sam Tompkins certainly took it.
You know, Eddie, that's the 2nd try they've scored on the last tackle. The 2 they've had disallowed were also on the last tackle. Any team that plays the Quins from now on must be aware when the referee puts that hand in the air, this is when the Quins come to life.
Danny Orr to try and add the extras and give the scoreline a little bit of respectability, which he does, 40 points to 12. And looking ahead, Phil, to those playoffs, Brian McDermott and Harlequins will hope the likes of Rob Purdon and Luke Dawn, 2 of the leading players, will be back in the side.
And they'll be hoping that all 13 who start the game finish it, don't they, as well? The scoreline from the Salford game just cheers the Wigan, makes it a perfect night for the Wiganers.
They've got more pleasure from that, I think, than seeing Wigan win. Listen to the roar that's going around the JJB Stadium. Saints have lost, Wigan have won. And the chanting Salford. Well, there you go.
Don't they have Darryl Goulding, one of the young Wigan players, out there on loan at the moment, so they'll be pleased for him if nothing else.
I think they'd cheer for Australia if they were playing St Helens, eh?
I don't think anyone would do that, would they, John?
Not so sure.
Well, it makes it very interesting up at the top. Leeds, of course, will be at Hull FC with us on Sky Sports tomorrow. There was a massive gap between Saints and the rest of the competition, and there's an incentive for Leeds to go to Hull, which of course won't be particularly pleasurable for Richard Agar and the Black and Whites. It's a 4:30 start, Sky Sports 1, HD1 tomorrow, and the game will start at 5, by the way, kick-off at 5.
You make a good point though, Eddie, in regards to, you know, the Harlequins are going to be a far better side with the likes of Purdham and Dawn back. They really are 2 experienced players. They're very, very creative.
And of course they would hope that they wouldn't have to play over an hour of the match with 12 men on the field.
Eddie, just a really nice piece of defensive play from Sam Tompkins, that just as we were watching the kick going through, he read it so well. There wasn't another player in the Wigan side who could predict where Quins were going to kick the ball, but Sam Tompkins did, took it on the fill, give it to Richards, and straight away the counter-attack began.
I think we've seen another side of Sam Tompkins tonight. Phil has been very much an organiser tonight, and he, along with Tommy Lulai, have really run this team, and it's been a very accomplished performance from the youngster.
Here he is again with his hands on the ball. It's touched by Gale, but it went backwards. So Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook tidies up, and Sam Tompkins, I think, then was having a bit of a go and has had another go at Steve Ganson, the referee. And he wants a word with him now.
And that's good refereeing. He's a youngster that's got a great future, but there are times when you've just got to keep it shut.
You understand? I'm not interested in what you say.
And he's being ticked off by Steve. Ooh. Is a yellow card?
Well, you can hear it quite clear. He said, I will do the talking, and that probably will do that youngster no harm whatsoever.
I certainly put the mockers on him, didn't it?
Well, he'll stand no nonsense with Steve Ganson, but and he gave him 10 metres, and then I thought Tompkins had turned around and put his thumb up to him and said okay, and he walked away. But anyway, Steve Ganson's the boss. Here's Will Sharp, so they're both down to 12 men now for the remainder of the game, albeit only 4 minutes. And Chris Melling has got the ball away, and it's so close to being a try for Matt Gaffer. A knock on, though. I'll tell you one thing Harlequins will be happy with here. 16-6 in the second half with 12 men. Here's the incident again. He's talked to him. Now then, he says, okay, thumbs up, okay.
He's the boss, and he's the boss too.
Is there a word in your dictionary?
I know you're going to say it's pedantic, but it'll probably do the youngster the world of good.
I suppose what you are disencouraging, though, is a player ever communicating and talking with the referee, isn't it? Now, if they want to go down that route, then none of the players will ever speak and have a relationship with the referees.
Listen, if we follow other sports where everybody starts yapping to the official, it'll be a sad day for rugby league.
Well, the local man of the match, the award given by the club sponsors at Wigan, has just gone to Sam Tompkins. And that's brought about as big a cheer as the result from Salford.
With regard to dissent, though, Eddie, have you ever seen a referee change his mind?
No, but what I'm saying, John, is was dissent giving him the thumbs up? That's all I'm questioning, that's all. And we don't know what he said, of course, but anyway, Steve Ganson's the boss, as we have said. Waddell, that's great play by Randall.
They've given their all, haven't they, Quins, in this second half against a very, very red-hot outfit. I've been impressed with the way Wigan, but we talk about what's happened in the second half and our Wigan, they've tried this, that and the other, but really it all came about in the opening 15 minutes, didn't it? Another error to add to their woe, but it all came about with 15 minutes of sheer brilliance from Wigan that absolutely blew the visitors completely off the park.
Eddie, I'm a massive fan of Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, but you know that. But he's been disappointing tonight. And if he wants to play at the standard of the Four Nations at the end of the year, he needs to improve dramatically on what we've seen from him today. Simple, soft errors like that aren't good enough at the highest level.
No, they will be punished, won't they? Punished dreadfully against Australia and New Zealand. But just put it down to a bad day at the office. I think Brian McDermott probably will. This won't be one they'll want to remember. Well, you see, this is the problem with a scoreline like this. There are errors on both sides of the field.
Well, they're not going to be perfect. They try a short side, don't they? Again, maybe the ball was intended for Roberts. Carl Price threw the right arm at it. But it has been, again, probably Amos Roberts. Good weather, good conditions. And you've seen Amos Roberts at possibly his best game for Wigan.
Brian McDermott knows his men now have not won here since April 2006. Brian Noble knows that his men are certainly timing their run to perfection, as teams coached by Brian Noble generally do, as they hit high summer and the playoffs beckon. Brian Noble just seems to have the magic ingredient to know how to get wins on the board, points up. and make real impact on the road to Old Trafford. He's got to within 80 minutes of Old Trafford the last 2 years. Inside the last minute here, Harlequins, to their eternal credit, are keeping going here with Danny Orr. They could so easily have thrown the towel in, couldn't they? But it's Ward now who spins away from Fielden. Not the best pass, Luke Gale though. He finds Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, who bounces off a couple. Oh, he's left on his own, he goes for it himself then. This is an encouraging end to the match for Harlequins and their coach. Wells. Game's gone, but they're still plugging away with Melling, and that's Haggerty! And Wigan bring him down. 10 seconds remaining. They might have just one more go at this Wigan line, Harlequins. With Randall trying to crown his 100th consecutive game and held up just short of the line. That is the final siren. Harlequins end the match on the attack. Wigan began the match on the attack. And don't forget that the Quins also had David Howell sent off midway through the first half. 40 points to 12. They've had to play for over 28 minutes with 12 men. Wigan get the victory. Harlequins go home with their third defeat in a row. Bill is with the man of the match, Phil Bailey. We knew that 55 minutes in when Steve-O mentioned it, and here he is talking to Bill.
Phil, you came off with a bit of a bang, didn't you, towards the end there?
Yeah, I've just had a little bit of a shoulder problem. It's been just a niggling thing for the last month or so, and it was just a bit of precaution, I think, from Nobby, so I was happy with the rest.
You still had time before then to make an impact on this game, as you did last week at Craven Park against Hull KR with those 2 tries. So you're in a bit of form at the moment.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think the team's starting to get a little bit of form as well, which makes it easier. And also with the troubles we had a week ago, everyone's got to pick up their performance now to carry the load.
You mentioned that. It's strange, isn't it? A bit of adversity, and it tends to bring people together, and you see the result.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Like, a bit of hard work doesn't hurt anyone, and I think we're sort of reaping the benefits of it now.
And okay, I mean the top 8, the playoffs still a long way to go, but if you can continue this form, especially as you've got all these home games coming up, it's going to stand you in good stead, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We play pretty good footy here at home, and we enjoy coming back to play at Wigan. So, like you said, like a lot of home games ago, we can get some form in the back end of the year. We could be there in the end.
Are you conscious of the fact that this month of July could be a crucial month for the club?
Oh yeah, we've looked at the draw, and we know, like, if we drop too many back-to-back, there's too many teams too close to each other, and it could be, after July, it could be all over.
Phil, well done on the man of the match performance. You get the champagne, which I've forgotten. You also get £100 to give to a charity of your choice. Who's that going to be?
I'll give it to Rainbow House. It's a charity Johnny Morsley organised, so he'll enjoy it.
Thanks, Phil. Well done tonight. Well done, Sam Tompkins, as well. Sam, thanks for talking to us. An eventful night, it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. We knew it was going to be a tough encounter, and they certainly brought a tough performance for us.
And you finished it on a bit of a sour note. Got a bit of a talking to. I think the coach had a word with you as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I need to learn not to talk back there, but I didn't think I'd done much wrong, to be fair. Nobody just said learn your lesson, just have to get over it.
Still learning.
Yeah, definitely.
But as Phil said, the important thing is to get the wins, especially to get the wins at home here.
Oh yeah, that's all we want now. We want to just get wins and wins on the back of each other, and we've got 2, but that's not enough to finish off a good season.
This is going to be a big month, isn't it? I mean, you look at towards the end of it. I know you can't look that far ahead, but Leeds looming as well. That's being picked up, isn't it?
Yeah, we know we've got some big games coming up, but we've got to take it one game at a time. We've got to concentrate on next Friday, which is going to be again, another tough game. So if we take it 1 week at a time, we'll see how we go.
Thanks, Tom.
No worries. Cheers.